So how many people this year?
Well, it's pretty amazing oh, are you talking about Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Oh.
How many people?
You know, I'm never going to know till like 2 days before, like a day before. And you're always going to end up setting 3 or 4 extra plates at the table because that's what we do.
It's always, how many? 26, and then it goes from 26
37.
to 12, and then it goes to 8, and then it goes back to 18. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Todd and Erin Daily Stream. Thanksgiving, I just basically now cook for like 26 people.
You just guess. It's going to be somewhere around there. No, that's half the fun of Thanksgiving. You lay a couple of extra plates because you just never know who's going to show up.
The fun is an 8, 12, 6, 24 anyway.
Oh, you love that part. This is so cool.
I don't.
The high stress, the anxiety, the fear, of course you do.
For the holidays, yeah, that's great.
That's pretty much every holiday in the Collard household.
What's going on with the firefighters?
Oh, this is cool. Well, you know that the fire in California, this is now the worst they've had since 1991. It's unimaginable. This is of yesterday. It had burned over 91,000 acres. Maybe 20% contained. I mean, it's just unimaginable. But the cool thing is they sent down over 100 firefighters and paramedics from here in Utah, and that's over 4 different fire task forces.
I saw the map yesterday. It's like 1, 2, 3 Nevadas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 6 or 7 states are sending people.
I have to admit, first responders, especially firefighters, seem to work together better nationally and sometimes internationally better than any other group I've ever seen.
Right.
Where they feel almost interchangeable, where the firefighters here have said, oh yeah, of course we're there, without even a thought or a question of, why am I going out of my blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, they view it as a deployment just the way the military is. They're there.
It is very military. The guy's sitting there, he's been working for 18 hours straight. Another guy walks up and takes the hose away from him, and that guy falls down and goes to sleep.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's just continuous. Anyway, best of luck and safe travels.
Thank you, guys. We really admire you. We appreciate it. Dr. Julie Hanks, who's one of my favorite people in the world.
She's smarter than me.
Well, Dr. Julie D'Azevedo Hanks is running her own private practice and then a Wasatch Family Therapy, by the way, 2 different locations. And she was also writing books, including The Burnout Cure and The Myth of Being Perfect. She also managed to get her doctorate because, you know, she doesn't like to sleep or eat or those things.
Do you feel outdone already?
But I ran by the office and I wanted to talk to her because this is like when all the weird emotions start happening around the holidays and you start. I see so many people unhappy, and there seems to be like 4 key things that happen. And the first that we're going to talk about today is the myth of being perfect, that you have to do everything the way Pinterest did.
All right.
So let's have a look. You were the ideal woman to ask about this because you've already written a book about the myth of perfection and how miserable it's managed to make all of us. And so when we're talking about like perfection during the holidays, girl, you've got this down.
Yeah, burnout, right? Holiday perfectionism leads to burnout.
Oh, and then depression and frustration that everything you expected for the holiday didn't work out because you're tired and bitter.
Right.
So how does it start? I mean, what happens?
You know, a lot of it is our own expectations that we put on ourselves. So much of what we expect, this picture perfect idea, is just unreasonable. And so it's unrealistic. So part of that is making our expectations explicit, like writing down, okay, I expect, you know, Christmas cards mailed by the 1st of November. Like, what are those things that you expect? And then look at them critically and think, well, really, do we have to do Christmas cards every year? And do we have to bake all, you know, homemade treats for all the neighbors? Or how about if we just pick 5? And kind of go through the list and really look at, is this adding to the holidays, or is this kind of something that we can take off the list?
You know, that's so interesting because I'm sure that for people in the back of your mind, you've always assumed you have to have this to make it perfect. Looking at everything listed out would make you think, why was that necessary?
Right.
But you've always done it or felt like a failure because you didn't.
Right, and sometimes holiday traditions become burdensome, and it's okay to let go of traditions and start new ones. Sometimes we just hold on to, like, it has to be just like Grandma, you know, dinner just like Grandma made it for Christmas Eve, or, you know, it doesn't. I mean, that's just a story we tell ourselves, and we can change tradition. What
do you hear from like some of your patients when they come in and go, I feel like I just screwed up everybody's Thanksgiving because of blah, blah, blah? I mean, what are some of the common themes that keep coming back of why it turned so terribly wrong?
Well, I would first say you're not that powerful that you can ruin everyone's Thanksgiving. That's what I would say, is you're not that special.
perfect.
Then I'd ask what, I'd ask more about the situation. So do you have a scenario in mind?
Oh, no, just of my best friend called me crying because they live in Virginia and they always had the massive Virginia Christmas at her in-laws house, who has a horse farm, and they would all go on a sleigh ride and blah, blah, blah. And there was no snow that year, so they couldn't do the sleigh ride. And she literally took it personally that it was somehow her fault that there wasn't enough snow. And I went, you realize you don't control the weather, right? But it destroyed her.
Oh,
Yeah.
But that's where traditions can become burdensome, and that's not the point of traditions. Traditions are to bring people together, not to create stress and sadness and mourning. Right? It's the opposite of what they're supposed to do.
When you're talking first about making the list, so that you kind of go over it with maybe your husband or your family and go, what's most important to us? What's the second step after that? Is it getting insight maybe into other stuff kids would like to do, or where do you go from there?
Well, yeah, I think sometimes it's good to ask your kids. That's a great suggestion, because they may not care about most of the things on your list that you're thinking, oh, everybody cares about this. And they may care about things that you don't think are that important. Like we do a tradition of matching Christmas pajamas the night before Christmas. And one year I didn't do it because I thought no one cared. And you would have thought Santa Claus had died. And they were so upset with me. And I didn't even think anybody cared. And I'd spent all this time and money, and I was just like, forget it, I'm not doing it this year. And that's something that they really cared about. So that was good information for me to know. The PJs stay.
Oh,
we're doing that.
That's the great slogan, the PJs stay.
Yes.
So they really wanted to open the album every year and be able to see that continuation of the pajamas every year over the years. That's so cool.
Yeah, and we kind of can tell what year it was based on what PJs people are wearing in the pictures. So yeah, ask your kids what they care about. Ask yourself what you care about, and kind of put those as top priorities, and then let the other things fall off the list.
I think Pinterest has a lot to answer for, especially here in Utah, because it's like it owns us and Pinterest knows it. I mean,
yeah.
But so you see all these beautiful things, and if your efforts fall far short, which is 99% of mine, that makes you feel even more inadequate. Is there a way to kind of combat the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect cookies, or they didn't have to look just the way they did in the picture, or?
Yeah. Don't compare. Everybody has strengths, and people show their strengths online. And everybody cares about different things. So I always say, do what you want to do. If you don't, I'm not a crafty person. I love creating music. I love writing. There are things that, I contribute that are unique to me. It's not crafts. And so
you look at a mason jar and it's just a mason jar. You don't picture
I don't
it
think
being
of all
glue
the
gunned and
right. And bless the people who do. Good for them, Do it. Do what you love. If it's not your thing, don't feel like you should do it. So the shoulds are a huge barrier with this holiday perfectionism. I should be doing this, I should be doing. Says who?
It's a really good point about social media, because you're right. Every one of us wants to look our best. And so you're right, you put up the very best thing that you managed to do. And that's another thing that makes all the rest of us feel inadequate. Mine didn't turn out like that.
The thing that's important to remember is there's enough success, there's enough beauty, there's enough joy for everyone. It's not a contest. It's not a contest. Everyone can have a good life. It's, we always compare ourselves to other people. It's not a contest.
I think that's the most powerful thing you could possibly say. And even though you would think it would be obvious, I think it hits people as an utter shock.
Right.
What do you mean it's not a contest?
Yeah. We value ourselves based on where we rank socially and in any given area, and we don't have to do that. That's optional, to rank yourself.
All right, so aside from the pressures of social media and Pinterest, I do love Pinterest, but still it's an easy thing to blame. There's also the expectations maybe of extended family, like your mother-in-law saying, well, we always have Christmas Eve at our house, and I'm sorry that you have to pack all the kids in the car and you have to drive 500 miles, but that's always what we do.
Yeah.
So how do you handle the expectations of an expanded family?
That's so good. So I always say to my clients, your immediate family, so your partner, and if you have children or dogs or whoever, that's your priority. So then you add other things to that. So what does your little family want to do? And then what else can you add in? So mother-in-law or mother or father-in-law, father, they don't get to dictate how you spend your holidays.
It's a powerful thing too, though, because it's family. Because it's like the one thing all of us resonate to, like, oh yeah, you're right. Totally.
Yeah.
You know, that's a terrible impulse.
But the beautiful thing about growing up is you get to make your own decisions and you get to disappoint people sometimes. And one of my favorite sayings is, no one died from disappointment. It's like, okay, yeah, they're going to be disappointed if you don't go to the Christmas Eve, and they're going to be fine.
They will live through it. You will see them next year.
Right, and they'll respect you on some level because you set a boundary. And of course, we want people to be happy. We don't want to cause waves. But if doing something is putting your own family at a disadvantage, then it's not worth doing.
Because the kids still pick up on the stress. They know that you're either ticked off or you're stressed or you're frustrated because you're still
resentful.
You're still obeying the demands of somebody else.
Yeah, letting other people dictate what you do and when does not feel good.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about making the list, which is genius, and looking at what really mattered to you. Number 2, asking the other family members what was important, hence the PJs. Number 3, maybe battling against the pressures of social media or outside family. What's the last most important point that you can make that would help people understand why the perfection thing is wrong? It's just not going to help them.
Well, because perfection is impossible. It's unattainable by its definition. And so I always say, go for good enough. Like, oh, good enough cookie is good enough. More often than not.
My sister always intones, lower your standards.
Lower your standards and you won't be disappointed. Yeah. Yeah, it's unattainable. And sometimes we link our value to our ability to be perfect or appear perfect. And that's not where our value comes from. Our value comes from the fact that we're a human being and that we have intrinsic value. And so unlinking our worth from our performance is really important.
The Todd and Erin Daily Stream is brought to you by PC Laptops, with desktops and laptops starting as low as $7.99 with a lifetime parts and service warranty. They fix phones too. Go to PCLaptops.com. And by Brio Technologies. They rent, sell, and install audiovisual components, including professional sound, lighting, video, and intercom systems, components, projectors, interactive whiteboards, and classroom audio systems. Just go to BrioAudiovisual.com.
Now, I think this is interesting. If you're talking about money, you go to a millionaire, right?
Yeah, he's made some.
A self-made millionaire. And the same advice is true. And we've been hearing this for years. Don't buy a new car. Don't buy a new car.
And it's so hard to do, and we've bought several new cars where you're like, oh, it's the new car smell, which is gone in like 5 minutes the minute one of your kids spills their milk in the back seat. But why?
French fries.
We still do it. We all still do it.
Yeah, so I've never seen numbers associated with it before.
Tell me.
And it's funny because when you go to the dealerships, basically what they're working on is monthly payments, your monthly payments. They don't talk about the entire cost.
Yeah, this will only set you back this much a month.
Not including insurance, not including taxes and things like that.
Don't even get into depreciation.
David Bach, he's the writer of this. He says it's the worst decision financially millennials could make. Absolutely the worst. Now,
really?
let me get into some numbers. Typical, when you drive off the lot, the vehicle starts to depreciate. When the car's value typically decreases 20 to 30% by the end of the first year.
Wow, you just lost a third of the value of your car. Okay.
What makes it worse is you had to borrow money to buy the worst asset, which immediately goes down 30%.
That is kind of scary. That doesn't seem like a good financial option.
Now, a lot of people end up, when they're doing this, they end up with a car payment of $500 when you best buy, is according to this guy, if you want a really nice car that's still shiny and still pretty, is go buy a car that was leased.
Oh yeah, coming off like one
years.
of the 3 or 5 year leases.
Yeah, because everybody knows you got to take the car back in, and so they're kind of careful with it, at some point, because otherwise you're going to get dinged.
So you already got the depreciation taken care of, and it still looks super shiny.
And if you want to really save money, don't buy a car, and just use Uber, because the last 6 Ubers we've been in are like brand new cars. Plus they offer you water and snacks.
And we have to drive.
And you just sit there and They've got perfect cars every time.
And once you break down cost per mile, it was probably cheaper than us driving our own cars anyway.
Definitely is in New York City and in Chicago.
Oh yeah, it's kind of making those scooters around downtown
Right.
a little bit more attractive now, isn't it?
All
That's
right.
interesting though.
Except in January.
The worst possible thing you can buy, he said. That's pretty specific.
That's yeah. So anyway,
All right.
tell me something good.
Well, I actually had to get permission from Amanda Cox because I really wanted to show the picture here. But
Really?
Amanda is a teacher down in Beaumont, Texas. Teachers are our angels. We love them more than anything in the world. And the fact that they are still teaching, because I think, what's the dropout rate after the first year?
Here in Utah, it's almost 70%.
I mean, you're dedicated. You really want to teach to stay teaching here. But this little boy, she said she'd asked some of her kids to share school supplies with their classmates. She's in a poorer area. She buys a lot of her own supplies, like they all do. Mr. C, my daughter's teacher, will you stop it? I will. We'll all help.
The kids don't need a pony.
Yeah, I know, but they love them so much. But she had said we didn't even have pencils, so I asked, "Hey kids, if any of you have extra pencils in your desk,
Right.
could you pass them on?" And this is a fourth grader, and this little boy came in. He says, "Well, all of the pencils I brought from home." He said, "Do you mind if I keep a couple, but I'll give the rest away?" And she goes, "Well, if they're yours, yeah, do what you want, sweetie. I'm not going to ask you to do that."
Right.
So he got up and he passed out a pencil to each student. And when he did, she noticed there was something on it. His mom had written personal messages on every single pencil that she had given to him. Things like, "You can do it."
Oh my
and
gosh.
"I'm so proud of you." And
Oh my gosh.
"Never give up," and "You're amazing." And she said, I could see the difference in the classroom where each kid took up their pencil, they read the message, and she said, you could see their posture straighten as if
Interesting.
something more was expected of them, and they were
crazy.
ready to meet it. She said it probably just took his mom a few minutes, but it lit up his whole year at school. He wasn't embarrassed that his mom had written on his pencils, and the reminder of his self-worth then passed on to his classmates. Now, she posted the photo of the pencils to Facebook, which is where I asked for permission, shared thousands of times. And a lot of teachers are saying, "I'm doing the same thing now for my students."
That's
and she
a great
said,
idea.
the look on a kid's face when they're reminded that they're important and they're talented and they're loved and they're knowledgeable, she goes, "This is why I teach."
I think it goes for everybody.
Isn't that gorgeous?
All right, you guys. If you like the show, tell people. And
We'd appreciate that. We've got dinner for 4 at Christopher's Prime Steakhouse. This is the perfect time to go out and get rid of some of your social obligations. Bring one of those clients or friends that does nice stuff for you and you never do it back.
don't do a business thing. Take people you love, because don't waste this on someone you're doing business with.
It's a brand new location downtown, and the Period Hotel is beautiful. So just like and share the show today. We will be drawing a winner on Friday.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow on the Todd and Erin Daily Stream.
You look so sincere. You look like one of those newscasters that's just staring into the camera waiting for the shot to clear. So,
I'm
and you're
asleep.
scared to move
I'm
because you're not
asleep.
sure. And
I can't move.
okay,
I'm a statue.
sorry.
I'm very zen.
It's crazy.
I'll just wait here till tomorrow.
Okay, I got stuff to do, baby. I love you.
Let's go. All right.